Hey everyone, I am very excited to welcome comedy royalty. I love using that word. To the show. If comedy royalty drove a Ford pickup and ate at Cracker Barrel, Bill Engvall has been in showbiz for over 40 years. Not only did he originate the insanely successful Blue Collar Comedy Tour, he's performed his own stand-up all over the world, starred in his own sitcom, The Bill Engvall Show, creative name, and shook a tail feather as a finalist on Dancing with the Stars. He also shocked the entertainment world when he announced he was retiring from stand-up in 2023. Bill, welcome to Group Text.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Now, I've known you forever, but okay, so you've retired. Did it cross your mind that this could really ruin your marriage?
Well, yes. I should back up. I did retire after 42 years of the road, and 6 months into it, I realized I can't do this. You know, as your mom would probably agree, there's something about stand-up that gets in your system, and you just can't walk away from it. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually taking some dates on a limited scale. I think that was part of the problem. I had just got burnt out,
Well,
and
also, when
so
you're
I'm
when
back.
yeah, I say when you're on the road that much, you
Yeah.
you think you want to be home, and then you are, and you kind of have no idea what to do with yourself.
Well, that's exactly true. And it was funny when I first started this talk about retirement. Gail, my wife, said, "I'm fine with it, but you better be fine with it." And I got to the point where I missed the performing aspect of it. Yeah, it's hard for me to say I'm like one of the senior guys now. When you look at the younger comics that are come up, and they're all so good. But I got back into it more, Melissa, because there's a connection. I guess musicians are probably and comedians are probably really the only people that can really have that connection with an audience in a live format. That's when a show's going great. You're one of them. You become one of the family, and I missed that juice. I missed it was funny. Right before I retired, somebody said, "What are you going to miss the most?" And I said, "The murmuring of the crowd right before they introduce you," and that has come to fruition. I missed that, and so I'm back. I'm going to do a few dates, and but you're right. When I told I think my wife was actually happy that I decided to go back out on the road.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
"Oh,
because
gee,
she's got,
honey, I'm gonna
yeah,
miss you. Oh, get the
yeah.
fuck out."
Yeah, I found that she really enjoys her time without me. Otherwise, I'm just like that little puppy dog following. So what are you going to do today? And she's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I've got this. So, but we're after we've been married for 42 years, so we'll figure it all out.
Yeah, it's one of those ideas that sounds really good on paper.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
my mother was the thing was stand up also, and it without delving into the really bizarre psychological makeup of comedians, specifically road comics,
right.
is you get that wave of love. You get that reassurance,
Yeah, exactly.
which is not like a healthy necessarily kind of thing in someone's personality that you need stadiums full of people to make you feel validated, but it does fill some strange void in your soul.
I agree. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that when you're on the road and you're by yourself and you're in another hotel, and there's a loneliness that God, there was so many nights I wished I had a band that behind me that I could go, this one's for us, boys.
Yeah.
But you're out there on your own, and when you talk to people about their like the biggest fear people have is talking in public. And I think comedians and musicians too, because like an actor can do the greatest scene in the world, but you're not going to see it for another 6 months because the
Right.
movie's not done yet. comedy is just, it's right there. It's in your face. And I think you're right. There is a somewhat of a dark side of us that embraces that. But on the flip side of that coin, when you have that love from the audience and they're connected with you, there's nothing better.
Right. It's a party.
Yeah.
Now,
It's almost like do you remember as a young girl, like I remember like the very first time I really kissed a girl, and that feeling that your stomach's tight and this is, and then you're chasing that for the rest of your life. And it's kind of like that with stand up. You get that bite of the forbidden fruit, and now you're just chasing it. And chase it can be in a bad way or it can be in a good way. I think that just depends on what your mental makeup is. There's some comedians that are very dark, and that's how they do their show. Mine is not that way.
I have a terrible analogy that I think I should probably keep to myself since I've never kissed a girl.
Throw it out there. Let's hear it.
It's like the first time you do drugs. The first time is always the best. Then you're chasing that high for the rest of your life.
Well, yeah, it's whether, and it's I think the key to that is if you can remind yourself that it's like the first time I was on stage and people started laughing, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then like 2 nights later, the show was like, okay, it wasn't great. And I'm like, I know, but I still want to, I know it's there somewhere.
Yeah, it's chasing that high.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to start to make the decision that I can't spend another night in a hotel?
It was when I lost a couple true dear friends,
Bob Saget,
and Louie Anderson.
Oh God, 2 of them that just
they were my heroes, and even though Bob was not that much older than me, but the way they held their career and the way they kept going. And I remember specifically telling my wife that I said, the biggest fear I have is dying on the road, literally dying on the road, like happened to Bob. And, but then the more I thought about it, you can't go through life fearing that, when I'm a firm believer that when your number's up, it's up, there's nothing you can do. And I don't know, maybe Melissa, it made me just for that period of time really examine my own mortality and what do I want to do with the time that I've got left on this planet. And I want to make people laugh. I want to make them feel better. And if that's what happens, that's what happens.
My mom always said she wanted to just tip over on stage. And she always followed that up with the joke of people get to free meals and get to dine out on that for years. I was there the night she just collapsed on stage. But that's how much she loved doing live performing. She's like, I just want to tip over. I just want to fall off the stool. Just boom, gone.
And the great thing is about that is that there would be that period of time where people would think it was part of the show until somebody would, oh God, no, she's not moving.
But like you said, people could dine out on that for years. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there that night. You are notoriously, and I hate using air quotes, clean comic.
Right.
And you talked about that when you were actually on In Bed with Joan, which was one of our shows. You said you missed out on some opportunities because you weren't edgy. What?
Yep.
Was that something you regretted at first?
Yeah, I think I would be lying if I didn't say how come, if had I done my show another way. One of the greatest, I don't say the greatest thing, but one of the things in our business, as you well know, people like Blue Collar was humongous. I don't know that there'll ever be another tour like that, I'm sure probably it will be, but the good side of that was we all got a name. The bad side out of it, you couldn't shake it. I love acting. I love doing roles that people don't expect to see me in. But to get someone to buy into that, because I'll tell you a great story. One time I was doing a corporate gig with George Lindsay. Goober, for those who are
Yeah.
younger, from the Andy Griffith Show. And we were sitting together after the show at a bar and just having a cocktail. And I said, George, if you could change anything in your career, what would it be? And he said, I never would have taken the Goober role. He said, I thought it was going to be a one-off, that's it. And he said, but it kept going. And he said, I'm a Shakespearean trained actor. But I would walk into casting calls and they would go, hey, do duty,
Yeah.
and he couldn't shake it. And so, and in a sense, and I think that probably the spec, but sorry, I jumped around, but
No, but that's
the special, like when HBO was doing one night stands and all those, they were going for the younger, the more edgy, urban kind of comic, and I was the rural, clean, but I will say this, guys, I studied guys like Bob Newhart and them, and I kept looking at their careers, and the one common denominator was that they weren't clean. And listen, there's a niche for everybody. Dirty comedy. There's people who want a dirty show. For my demographic, they would look at me like, if I tried to go out and do a dirty show just to see if I could do it, they would look at me like, what are you doing?
But interestingly, and I think of Jim Gaffigan as this.
Yeah. Jim's great.
But I was gonna say, and
phenomenal.
I think back on a lot of your specials. Just because you're not using quote, I hate it, blue language, you still backdoor into edgy.
Well, yeah, I always, I
mean,
always
that's
live
like
by
that's
the
like
thing of
Gaffigan. That's like Gaffigan.
yeah, is you go to the edge, but you don't jump.
Right.
And I would tell when I would do interviews and people say, well, what can people kind of show do people expect? I go, listen, we're going to talk about real life. And sometimes in real life, some people find that they don't either want to deal with real life or they don't want to hear about it because that's what they hear all the time. But I think that's a very accurate assumption, that, you don't just, and I think, like you're talking about, we don't use the F-bomb and all this in the show. But like I went to England and did a show there at, it's called London Underground. And they say the F word like we say the word the.
Yeah.
So it's not even dirty at that point. It's just like part of the culture of the country. And I think that sometimes people, I think we here in the States, especially, and I think your mom would have probably agreed with this too, is that, what's dirty to you may not be dirty to me.
Right.
You can't broad stroke the whole, and I think I've heard people do shows that didn't cuss, but I found their show offensive just because either the choice of material or, maybe they were making fun of a horrific accident that just happened. So I find that stuff more offensive than the cussing.
Yeah. Okay. But I have to ask you, because you are a human and you are a father.
Mm-hmm.
And this is as a father, not a grandfather.
Okay.
Did you ever turn to one of your kids and say, I'm going to fucking kill you?
I don't know that I used those exact words, but the point got across like that. I think I might have said something like, I remember one time my son came down to breakfast and he was wearing his headphones on. And I said, hey, by the way, first off, take them off. We're at the breakfast table. And I said, you're not wearing those to school. You're not taking them to school. And he goes, my friends are. I go, I don't care about your friends. You're not wearing headphones to school. And he got up and started going out the front door with his headphones on. And I literally got to the front door in like 2 steps and said something to the effect of, if you want to see the age of 12, you better take those.
You got the point across.
Yeah, the point. And, and that's something I learned. My dad never spanked us. He never hit us, but he could get a look that you went, okay, I better back off on this.
I once used to say to Cooper, if you ever want to see daylight for the next month, because I promise you, you are going to be a mole person. You are going to be let out. You will blink. You will go to school and you will come back in and be in the dark. You will not be seeing daylight.
That's priceless. I
Yeah.
like that one. I wish I could remember that one.
Yeah.
You
It's
should.
like you're not going to see daylight. Give it up.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Yep.
So I can speak about being the child of a comedian and a very successful one. How was it for your kids? Because
I think they were
it's
miserable with it.
because for me it used to be going to school and being like, oh my God, what did she say? You know,
Oh yeah, yeah. I can tell you a story right now. I used to do a joke a long time ago about I was doing some laundry and my daughter's underwear was in it. And the joke was that when the how to wash tag is bigger than anything else on the underwear, I've got a problem with that. And my daughter was at Miracosta High School, and she came home one day and she goes, "Okay, that's enough." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I'm sitting in gym class. There's a guy across from me wearing a Bill Engvall concert T-shirt, and he goes, 'Hey, I heard your dad talking about your underwear on the radio.'" And she said, "I said, baby, I'm sorry. It's a killer joke. I can't take it out.
exactly. I love you.
I love you, but it's gonna stay in." And the other thing is, I used to always remind them that, hey, look around. You see this nice house we live in, and we got food on the table, and we go on vacations. That wasn't done. That wasn't achieved by me talking about me. And that's where I think Gail comes. Poor Gail. Because most of my act has been about her, and that's the weirdest part of it. And I'll get to that. Is that when your kids grow up, that whole element of material is gone. I can't go on stage and go, "Yeah, I remember my son when he was 4, he's 38 now." So,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, they finally got it that that this was dad's. It was funny. I'll tell you, Melissa, that one day we were having I never forget, we were having Thanksgiving dinner. And I, for whatever reason, just kind of got this thought hit me. And I turned to the kids and I said, "I just want to say I'm sorry. That, I know that you guys kind of went through some stuff because of me and my stand-up and all that." And I said, "I just want you to know I'm sorry." And both of them said, "It was your job." And that's when I knew we had done something right parenting, that they were that well balanced to say, they told, then that we got into stories about how I was as a, come home dad, try to take control of the house,
Yeah. It's like, good luck with that. But
Yeah.
I love my favorite thing out of this so far is that you said, "Sorry, honey, it lands. It's not just coming out of the act."
Yeah.
So,
If you got a sports car that's running, you don't just trade it in on a Pinto. All right.
exactly. So I rewatched your first appearance on Johnny Carson from the late 80s, early 90s.
The
And
cardigan.
yeah, my mom talked about how literally her life changed overnight. And people now don't understand how impactful getting on the Tonight Show was. What was it
Oh,
like for you the day after?
um, I think for me, I figuratively sat by the phone waiting for that call, the next appear. Because the first time I did it with Johnny, the only time I ever did it with Johnny, uh, in fact, I still hold a grudge against Victoria Principal, because I was supposed to panel and her segment went too long. And so I got bumped from the couch, which I still have a real thorn in my side about that. But it was it was such a buildup to that night that the next day you're just kind of like, "Okay, now what?"
Right.
And I think that is one of the differences between, and I did it with Jay, and Jay was, I enjoyed, but they didn't change your career, like the Johnny was the guy.
Right.
That was what your whole career was. I didn't even think about acting at that point. I was like, I just want to be on the Tonight Show. And the the day afterwards, I remember getting up and literally saying, "What do I do now?" And they said, "Oh, and I got the Showbiz. Hey, this is just the first of many appearances to come." So I was, that was from Jim McCauley, who was booking it,
Right.
and
I remember Jim McCauley.
yeah, never got another call. Until Jay took over, and then I did it with Jay. But it was Johnny's last. I think it was the last year he did it. But
Welcome, welcome to showbiz.
yeah,
Congratulations.
I still get caught that way. Oh, we're gonna this show's gonna run 4 years, 5 years. You're when I did the Bill Engvall show, every crew guy will tell you that this is the best pilot they've ever been on in their life.
Always.
And I would buy into it.
Oh, I still do. I just
Yeah,
came off a
because we
project.
got the hope. That's what we live
Yeah.
for, is the hope of God. Please let this happen.
Oh, I just did a big show that's going to air in April. And everyone afterwards is like, oh my God, this is it. And then it's like within 48 hours, you get the network notes, number one, about everything that was wrong. And of course, the night everyone's like, what are we doing next? This
Yeah.
has been such an amazing experience. Let's talk immediately about what we can do together next. You know what I mean? And I'm still like waiting.
Yeah, hello, it's right here.
Hi, anybody want to have lunch?
Isn't that what's so funny about showbiz? Is like to this day, no one has officially told me that the Foxworthy show has been canceled. And that's been 40 some odd years. And I told Jeff one day, I said, we should just keep showing up at the lot and go, where are we? What studio are we on? And just to hear them go, has nobody, we need to tell them the show's gone.
Exactly. Where's my parking spot?
Yeah. Oh, and the gifts that come when the show pilot. Oh, yeah, that was. But you know what? Getting back to your thing about the sick dark side. That's what we live in. We live in that world of false hope, and they just keep jerking the rug out.
Yeah.
And you would think most normal people would go, I'm done with this. We're like, nope, I'm still in.
What's the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing over and over again, hoping you're going to get a different result. Oh, the night that we shot our show. What's next?
Yeah.
Let's talk next week. What's next? The only thing that came were network notes.
I'll tell you. All right. So this is, I love this. I love talking with you. So the very first show I ever did, I was a guest star on the pilot. Delta Burke had left Designing Women and was going to have her own show.
Again,
I was just,
not a good choice.
No, I was just a guest star on the pilot. But I was so stupid that I just assumed I'm on the show. So we're rehearsing. We get, everybody, we tell us where to be, and we show up, and literally my name is on a piece of tape on a door, on my dressing room door. It just said Bill.
Not even Bill E.
No, just Bill. And Barry Kemp was the executive producer at that point. And he said, because I was like, so do we get chairs with our names on the back of them? Like the movie. And they said, you were so naive about the business. We felt we couldn't let you down. So they made me a reoccurring on the series. But at that point, when they said you got the job, I was like, honey, open up another bank account because daddy's on roll.
Go order that new car in the special paint
you get
color.
That Mercedes.
in the custom paint color. Daddy's buying.
Yeah.
So this is one of the dichotomies. So you had this insane experience, and at the time, truly insane for comedians, of selling out stadiums.
Yeah, that was crazy.
On Blue Collar. You guys were kind of like, the only people who had done that were like Eddie Murphy. Comedians did not perform in stadiums. And I don't think, unless you're in it, what people understand is hearing the audience and having that interactive experience has to do with the acoustics.
Right.
How did you start to even adjust to being in these massive venues, especially because of the delay of hearing? And this is before you had earpieces. I
was lucky in the sense of Foxworthy, God bless his heart, when he was hitting the stratosphere, he took me out on the road with him, and which I wouldn't have done because, my job was, I was going to try to top him. I think you have to have that mentality. I love him. He did so much for me. But I used to, when we would play great big theaters, like music halls, you learned, and I also learned from when I toured with Reba, because we were doing, big outdoor thing, and you literally had the timing was off.
Right.
Because you literally, and I don't think you're right. People don't understand that, like we were playing the Astrodome when I was on tour with Reba.
Not conducive for comedy.
No, but literally I had to put cotton in my ears so that I couldn't hear the slapback from the back wall. And so when we got to doing Blue Collar, I would go out before the crowds came in, and I would stand in the stage and I would talk just to get the feel, I guess for lack of a better example, it'd be like stretching before you go run. It's like you had to get that, hear it and hear that delay, because there is a delay, because the guy sitting at the very back of the arena is not getting it at the same quick as the guy sitting right down front.
Right.
And but they did a good job of but like I said, acoustics in an arena are hard to do, and but when it works, it's. But I also believe, listen, I'm going to go. I also back up and say, comedy has to have an intimacy.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, I used to like try to walk up to the last seat up in the row and look down to see what that guy or girl's going to see, and just so I was aware of that, because it's. But I think, while it was fun and the money was stupid, a couple of weeks ago, I went back to a little comedy club, and it was just so wonderful. It was just, there was that, they were right there with you, and, I could reach down and touch somebody if I wanted to.
Not today. That could get you, me too.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a different world when you're doing, and I'll be honest with you, it was a world I never thought I would see.
Yeah, because it's very intimate comedy.
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
So I don't think I'm breaking news when I say there was not a lot of love between everyone at the end of Blue Collar. I mean, you look back on it now and you say,
yeah,
okay.
I get what you're saying.
But but also, where is everyone now? Because it was not unclear. Everybody kind of knew, like, we've all had enough of each other. Everyone had heard the stories, and that's normal.
I think when Ron left, that was the beginning of the end. And the promoters did a great job. It wasn't like we got overworked. I mean, they did a great job of parsing out the dates. But when we started, Jeff was up here and we were down here. Well, as we kept going, then it kind of got like this. And then all of a sudden he started saying, well, I don't want to do that. Let's do this or something. I will say this, that it never broke down to the screaming, yelling, childlike fights. It was just more of like, maybe that might've been better.
Right.
As opposed to just holding it in. And, but I never, you start and I'll tell you this is, it's not a funny story, but when Blue Collar got really big, Jeff was already huge.
Right.
And then Larry quickly rose through the ranks. And then Ron came up. And so it was weird, because there was a part of me that was a little jealous of it, because when we started going out on our own after that, they were selling 9,000, 10,000 tickets a night on their own. And I still had my 2,500 to 3,000, I never got that. And I would be lying if I didn't say that hurt a little bit. That I go, how come I didn't get my shot? But like, then I look at where I live and what I've got around me, and I go, nobody's going to look at me and go, oh, you almost made it.
Yeah. Like, but then you started to climb through.
And I started kind of branching out, like the Dancing with the Stars thing.
Okay, we got to get into that.
Well, I will tell you a funny story about that. When they called, I remember thinking, oh my God, is this where my career's at now? Because I was still doing good concert business and making money. And Gail said to me, she goes, I think you ought to do this. I said, really? She goes, Bill, it's seen by 13 million people a week. That's the best exposure you can get. And I literally thought, because the first week you get a bye, everybody's safe. And I thought, I'll be done. I got through week one, nobody gets cut. And I thought because I really thought I'll be on the show a couple of weeks, I'll get voted off, everything will be fine.
Sorry, Marty's making a cameo. There he
Oh,
is.
hey, Marty.
Yeah, now he's gone.
But it just kept rolling.
Yeah.
And it was Emma, who was my partner. It was the first time she got to dance with a celebrity. And she was a troupe dancer, and we hit it off. And Melissa, I figured out, and my dancing's not what got me to the finals. What got me to the finals was I realized what the show was. It's just a popularity contest, and that's what I do. So I would do a dance with this smoking hot British girl, 23 years old, and then run over and kiss my 56-year-old wife, and every housewife in America went, see, he's I just was Bill, and I goofed around and I played with the judges and stuff, and America just kept voting, and no one was more shocked than me. I figured out by the end of my run, I had danced 6 hours a day, 7 days a week for 13 weeks without a day off.
By the way, and I was going to say, whether or not you want to do it, it's basically free physical fitness. Like
I lost 35 pounds.
Now, have you put it back on?
Dieting.
Have you put it back on?
Yes, of course I have.
You didn't keep a workout regime?
No. It's just like people would go, so do you and your wife go dancing all the time now? It's like, no. I go, I dance for a minute and a half. I'm good for that, And plus, me trying to tell my wife how to dance is the quickest way to divorce court.
Oh, yeah.
Because she won't put up with any. She'd be like, "Oh, I get it. You were on a show where you danced for a minute, and now you're Fred Astaire."
Yeah.
So,
are you? I'm sure you're a good grandfather. Are you the grandfather who maybe unintentionally sabotages everything that the parent is trying to do? Because I might have had that experience.
I think the key word there is yes, but you don't realize, like I didn't go in going, I'm going to sabotage, because my job now is just to show up and it's party granddaddy. We're going, and grandma, we're going to the zoo. We're going to go to it's so funny though, that when the first time my daughter asked if we could take care of the baby, and we were like, yeah, whatever. I had a sheet of paper of rules, schedules, what they eat, when they eat. And I looked at it, I went, I've raised 2 kids. I don't need this.
So how old are your grandkids now?
Autumn is 5 and Cody is 2.
Okay. So we hit a point with my mother that if I was not home and my mother was watching the kid and his friends,
right?
There were certain parents who were like, not if your mother's alone. And I'm like, well, why? They're like, because they basically come home with the equivalent of an 8-year-old hangover. Like it takes them a day to recover.
But you know what? That's a great point. I would think your mom would have been the great. I would have loved for her to have been my grandma.
Well,
that would have. I'm sure it was from your son's standpoint. I'm sure it was. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, from my standpoint.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're gonna have to start over.
Yeah, and he figured out. Has the 5-year-old started manipulating you?
No, the 2-year-old has.
But
no, I shouldn't say that. The 5-year-old will do. Like we'll be watching. Like one of the things they do is like when they get up in the morning, they have breakfast and they get to watch one Bluey video or whatever. I guess it's Gabby's Playhouse now. But they'll watch it and then I can just feel it. She turns to me and she goes, "Can we watch just one more? You're only here for a week."
So of course you go, of course.
Of course, yeah, I don't care.
Oh,
my parents sat me in front of Rocky and Bullwinkle when went out and mowed the yard.
I used to. There were a few times, especially as Cooper got a little older, where he would be. I would call the house or whatever, and he had done something, and I'm like, "That's it. He's grounded." And I came in and I walked by the room, and he's sitting watching TV, which he had been grounded from, with my mom, and she's like, "He can start his grounding after I'm gone." that's helpful. That's freaking helpful. One time
Did
I
you
was
ever
like,
walk out of the room just going, what the hell?
you have no idea. You have no idea. And she would take him to go have a snack on the way home from school. And then,
Yeah.
but a snack would be pizza and ice cream. And then it'd be time for dinner, and he didn't want to eat his dinner. And
Right.
she would actually have the audacity to say to me, Melissa, you've got to be much better about making sure he eats like at the right time and balanced and vegetables. Really?
Really, Ma? Really?
Really? You're wondering why he didn't want to eat? We just had a snack. No, you had a meal.
Yeah. You had a meal that an adult would eat.
Oh yeah, and up all night and sitting in bed having snacks. I
Oh,
would
God.
he wouldn't be able to get up the next day, and I'll be like, "What time did you guys go to bed?" She goes, "Well, after we had the ice cream." I'm like, "Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget like they would be up to like her hours. He would be
Yeah.
on her hours." So,
Yeah.
so when have you had the point? I mean, you're still a couple of years off where you're this is coming where your grandkid does something to and the parent's head explodes and you just stand back and go just like
Oh, yeah.
you.
I'm waiting for that day uh, because I know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard thing, it'd be interesting to talk to Joan about this, is as a grandparent, you, while we were talking about giving snacks and all that, it's hard sometimes not to step in, like to remember that's not our kid. It's theirs, and whether they may be doing drives me bananas. Gail's had a couple times, like I got the little arm squeeze, like, no, let it go, let it
Mm-hmm.
go. Because,
I
but that would be that's been the hardest part for me is, because I think we raised our kids good. They should raise it. It's like, no, it's their kid. They're going to raise it. And, and my daughter's great. She limits the video time. They're probably so much better parents than we were. They take those kids to museums, to the zoo. My
I'm
parents, we
I'm
took our
laughing.
kids like to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. I'm laughing because my mother did look at me when she goes, God, you are so much of a better parent than I ever was. And I looked at her, I'm like, great. Like that's what you're saying to me is not really a positive. So other than pretending you're retired and going
Mhm.
back on the road, what's going on next?
I don't know, Mother. I'm kind of at the point in my life where I'm just gonna kind of see what comes my way. Listen, we don't live in LA anymore. And I don't care how quiet you try to keep that, word gets out. And so I don't know unless somebody just specifically asks for me. I don't know that the acting's really gonna keep going because the people that were my era are gone, the studio heads and all that. And it's people that guy was probably like a PA when I was there. Now he's running a network.
A PA, he
Um,
was probably in middle school.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna just kind of see what happens. I'm gonna do the road a little bit and maybe try to put together another special. But it's going to take a lot of motivation for me because I really actually, and I love this, just doing a show. Although as you doing a show, you kind of need to keep doing it to keep the rust off the bike. But yeah, Gail and I are going to take some trips, do some vacationing, and just kind of see what life has for me, and not try to force it.
That is such good news. So, for your upcoming dates, go to www.billengvall.com. And as always, I always have so much fun talking to you.
Yeah, I miss you so much. We always had good laughs.
Yep. Well, next time we're both in the same area, we'll try and do it in person.
Hey, and to everybody out there in California, God bless you. Just it's going to be better.
You know what? As I said to Cooper a number of times, specifically after my mom died, it's never going to be the same, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be good.
I would like to. You should stitch that on a doily.
Oh yeah, because I'm such a sewer.
Maybe put that on all the tables at the wedding.
Maybe. Other than the ones except for the ones that say, I'm giving you 3 meals and 2 free bars. Fuck off. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't care what you're doing all day. You're getting 3
with my
meals.
husband who can't get in his suit right now.
Yeah, you get 3 meals and 2 free open bars. Leave me the fuck alone.
Well, love to you, honey. I miss you, and thanks for having me on this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.